Yo, and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylar.
And I'm Morgan. And happy Thursday.
I mean, but today is a Tuesday, and we're back on our old bullshit. So, you know, it's the Tuesday right before this thing goes out.
And God is not on our side.
No, God's really pissed off at Morgan specifically.
At me specifically. So we just recorded our Patreon episode, guys. And all is well. I actually put makeup on to record because Taylor's like, we're on camera, you dumb bitch. Look presentable. Don't look homeless. I didn't even say
it like that. I said, hey, by the way, I'm going to video this today.
Because AKA don't look fucking homeless.
But we missed the best conversation because we didn't put it on camera about the women going to war in the dance battle.
I know, that was iconic.
That is such a great one.
Anyway, I do my makeup and I put mascara on and I get here and Taylor's like, God, there's just something wrong with my face. And me, so quick to answer. That was rude of me. Your eyelashes. I said so quick. I said, yeah, it's your eyelashes. And you're like, oh.
I said, oh, did I tell you about that? No, that's what I said. I didn't care. Oh, did I tell you about that?
Yeah. So anyway, so that instilled some sort of vengeance for Taylar to put a hex on my eyelashes. Okay. So we're recording Patreon.
No, my eyes are
and we're done recording Patreon and we're trying to get this fucking camera to work and it never works. And Taylor's like, dude. I'm like, yeah.
Okay, wait. But pause. So this entire time, whenever Morgan wears mascara, it's a really rare occurrence, okay? And when she wears it, I cannot help but look at her eyes because her eyelashes, they're so fucking gorgeous. And I pay good money with an amazing... Afterlife Lashes here in Knoxville. Even if you want falsies or extensions, go to Afterlife Lashes on Instagram. 10 out of 10. Lexi, she's 10 out of 10. You'll love her. Anyways, so I paid to get my eyelashes to be looking like Morgan's. And I don't know if anybody's noticed or if I've even said anything about it yet, but I ripped off all of my eyelashes
one by one
in a meltdown a few weeks ago. So I've been like letting my lashes have a little break. So I've been having to figure out how to do lashes again. I have no idea how to do them. I've had lashes on for 6 years, maybe. I don't know. My eyelashes still like,
long as
popping.
I've known you,
literally. And my eyelashes are still popping like naturally because that's what happens when you go to a good
but that is
artist.
What's different,
in
a nice, respectful, friendly way.
But like honestly, like I have had lashes for so long, and everybody that has known me has only known me with lashes. So like when I don't have my fake lashes on, I look different. Okay, I just look weird. So anyways, I've been staring at Morgan's this entire time. And when we recorded the Piping Hot Goss, I looked at them then. I looked at them when she was recording her case for Patreon. And then I looked at them when I was recording mine. And up until this entire point, the only thing I've ever noticed is that on her right eye, like her left to my right, there has been this like little piece of makeup.
Like white.
Yeah.
Like either like dry, like a skin flake or like
I think it was
makeup,
just like packed makeup.
Build up.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do a good job cleaning my face the last 2 days.
But that's fair. We've been
hungover. So like
it's been Morgan's birthday
expect?
weekend. What did you want? And the eyelashes are going to be dirty.
That's right.
So then I was like, looking at them, and then I like look over as we finally get this damn video camera set up, and I look over at Morgan. I'm like, dude, what's up with your eye?
Have you seen your eye? And I'm like, no, why? What's on it? And she's like, dude, it's totally swollen.
And her phone's connected to the camera, so we can't break that connection because it took us 10 years to set up. So I'm handing her my phone.
Guys, I have I'm about to take the glasses off and walk up to the camera to show you. It's like a blister on my eyelid, but like fluid remember when I had the herpes on my eye? Remember
I don't think we ever told the public, but we did tell Patreon.
Okay, I had well, it was actually called something else. It wasn't that. It's just like
similar to a cold
bacterial
sore.
like sty infection, basically like a cold sore, but on the eye, but not
a cold sore.
Not that. Anyway, so I had that a month ago, I would say.
Yeah.
It was about a month ago, and it's like healed. It's, and it takes time to develop into that. Like I know when it's coming. I see the blisters. It starts to hurt. It's itchy. Like I know when it's coming. I also know when a sty's coming. It starts to hurt. It hurts to blink, and you can feel the little ball. This was in a matter of like 5 fucking minutes.
Literally.
Blister. Like I had you can push on my eyelid and fluid is bouncing around.
It took us, okay, so when I ended my episode and we were talking, I was looking at your eyelashes then and it looked a little red. We set up this entire bullshit.
10 minutes?
10, 15, who knows? I look back over, we sit down and record, we're like, oh, this is perfect. Can I look at the camera? And then I'm like,
boom, third person in the room.
all of a sudden we have a third guest.
All of a sudden we have a guest on the pod.
All of a sudden And is here from Creeps and Crimes.
Yeah. Creeps and Crimes.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
So I don't know what the fuck's going on with my eye, but I did pound a couple benadryl. So if halfway through, and of course I'm going second this episode, so I'm gonna be like this. Anyway, you know, like bouncing off the mic.
You know, we'll just see.
We'll just see where the night takes us.
And of course that happens
Hopefully
to us
not
on
to the ER.
Fast turnaround one.
Of course.
I mean, you know what? We should just know. We get struck by lightning every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Somebody put a fucking hex on us.
Now I feel like my eyes is gonna swell.
Now I really thinking my eyes are kind of swearing.
I feel like I can't open my left eye. I don't know if I'm just
but it is like
you.
In the moment, like it just feels like it's getting heavier and heavier. But like it was full blown swollen. I had no idea.
Yeah, she had
like,
no
I didn't
idea.
Even feel it. But like now that I know it's there, like I do feel like it's a little heavy. To
Honest to God, I swear
weighing me
it
down.
might be going down.
That's the weirdest thing ever.
And like we called Beth Ann mom, and of course we have to call mom.
Of course.
And we're like, yo, what is that? What do you think? She goes, is it what's she called? A hive.
A hive, yeah.
And that would make sense if we didn't see the fluid in it.
Or yeah, like bubbly. Like it was like a boil, like a blister boil.
I don't know. And it just happened so fast. Like only thing that could be is like a blister, like a burn.
Yeah.
But
like Taylar said, it looks like someone took a curling iron, pressed it up against my eyelid, and it bubbled.
Literally.
Guys, I'm like the funkiest. Like, don't think I'm dirty because like you guys all know like we both have issues showering here, but like that's like washing hair shower.
Yeah.
But like I'm not dirty, but I'm like the funkiest person ever.
And you wash your
exist.
face.
Yeah. Like, and like I like get the weirdest shit that always happens to my skin. Like my skin is so sensitive, but it also has like I think like all sorts of bacterial infections I could possibly have is like embedded into my skin. It just pops up everywhere.
You know what? That's what happens.
Lyme's
I guess
disease.
When you, I mean, we've been saying it.
I don't even know if that's a symptom.
I mean,
diabetes.
You've got. I don't think it's diabetes. You've got something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe you're just like one of those people that's just like allergic to everything. Like point blank period. That's the end of the story. Because that's what
I have water. I had 3 noodles of Alfredo. 3.
Yeah, but like it was swelling. You know what? That we did stop in the middle. So that is the only thing that changed.
But like usually when I react to food, like it's like instant hives.
Yeah, and this
like
was an instant
back itchy. And like I've had this like thing that I've been, again, funky freak. I know. I've had this thing I've been gnawing on the inside of my mouth. And like it's not like what are they called?
A kink or sore.
It's not a kink or sore. It's just sometimes my inner lip like gets swollen.
Do you get the blister ones that you can pop?
No.
Oh my God, I get those all the time.
Like it kind of like sticks out and I'll just like end up like chewing this is disgusting.
No, I do it
but
too.
like then it goes down like an hour later. And like so I've had that like during all of Patreon, but like honestly,
I get blisters in my mouth that I can like literally put my nail into, pop it, and it goes away.
Oh, I've never had that.
Or maybe a zet. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Sometimes it's blood. Sometimes it's just liquid.
Interesting. Anyway, guys, so we do have a third party with us today, and we'll let you know what they think. But besides that, let's talk about my birthday weekend.
Yes. Do a quick little recap, birthday girl.
We recap coffee, shopping. Took us 9 years to shop.
Never doing it again.
If you want to hear more about that, subscribe to Patreon.
100%. Patreon.com/creepsandcrimes.
Slay. We did cocktail drinks, dinner. Wait, cocktail drinks, more cocktail
Rooftop.
drinks.
Vault.
Dinner.
Vault cocktail. Vault cocktail drinks in an old bank speakeasy. Sick. 10 out of 10. If you're in Knoxville, go to Vita the Vault. 10 out of 10. Then we went to the Embassy rooftop.
Yeah.
Had the best dirty slut of a martini I've ever had in my entire life. Maybe one of you guys was there making fun of us. We don't know. Or
somebody definitely was.
Someone was making fun of us. And then we go eat dinner. This is our new philosophy.
This is it, guys.
Drinks, dinner. And if you still want to keep rolling, either go get more drinks or go home and go to bed with a full tummy of pasta and wake up not hungover at all.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 recommend.
That is what the hot shit thing to do is.
Yeah. That's just how it goes. We don't make the rules.
If you either get on board or y'all can keep eating dinner first and being sick on your night out.
And then having a bloated tummy.
Just like that's up to you.
That's up to you. Because we cracked the code.
Then by all means.
Yeah, I mean.
But I do have to tell you guys, I tried mussels.
Yes.
Logan ordered mussels at Osteria Stella, where we went for dinner on Friday, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, give me.
Let's just go.
Like, I didn't even, you weren't even like, try this. I was like, give me it, I'll try it.
I was honestly like kind of against you trying it. I was like, I don't know if I want her to try it here. Like, there'll be times.
What if there's an allergic? What if her eyes swell? What if
honestly,
she
what if this is
up?
delayed?
Like, what if she blisters up?
Truly.
Because my grandmother's actually like very severely allergic to like all shellfish.
So is Logan's mom.
And I'm like, cool.
Yeah. Let me try it.
Let me try it. I'm not allergic to anything.
Yeah.
It was really good.
10 out of 10.
And like, I was not expecting myself to say that. I thought I was going to, you know. Like,
and even Aaron tried it.
And even Aaron tried it.
They're not bad. Like, they're not.
It was just like, because it was in that good sauce. Like
buttery. That buttery
garlicky,
white wine.
it was.
Beautiful sauce. I mean, it's just so good. And the rule is one chew, swallow.
Yeah. And you know what? When it was in my mouth, I did too, because I was like, I just don't feel like that's right. And honestly, I could have chewed it a little more.
Yeah, you can. It's just the first time. Like, if you bite, sometimes there's ones that are a little bit more tough than others, and it's just kind of rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's good. Sorry to break it to everybody.
I never thought, I mean, you asked me 2 weeks ago if I would have tried that on my birthday.
No.
I would have said no.
I mean, we have it on recording.
But because I was now a big girl. I'm 25 years old, and I can now say that I eat mussels.
Yeah, and we went to cocktails before dinner and then went straight home and go to bed.
Because that's what big girls do.
Yeah, before midnight.
Before midnight.
Now, granted, we have been out for a minute, and then we completely derailed on Saturday. That's a story for Patreon. You guys got to see the shots, but
which you probably shouldn't have. That should not have been public.
There was also another shot in that did not make the cut.
Thank God.
Thank God, because that was the one where I was like, sorry. I love you too much. My God, we were not okay. Either way, we had a great time.
Yeah.
Love a good birthday.
We had a really good weekend.
No, that was my favorite birthday weekend that we've had for like anyone in a really long time. It was just perfect.
It really was. It was like the perfect amount.
It's because it's just me and you. Like,
is it because the two bitches are left?
No, literally. We're just like, we're both want to get pictures, we want to do the same things, and we want to go to bed. Like, yeah, there's just truly
boom, boom, boom.
And if like one of us wants to keep going, then like it's fine, go on. You guys
did you hear that?
It was an echo from the wall.
Oh, I just heard like chains.
Was it my drink?
Did you pick it up?
No, but it is popping and locking and dropping back there.
I don't know, I heard chains right there.
Do your chain hang low? Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Immediately no. Anyways, so finally wrapping up BTK today, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, thank God.
And 128 is going to be
St. Patty's.
No, it was 129, I think. Yeah, 129. 128 is supposed to be women-esque.
Oh, I'm already out of that. But
no.
I can move it.
Okay. We'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna do my little high school story.
Your high school.
The one
story.
I was telling you about earlier today with
damn, that was me.
The academy.
Too.
But
we should do a woman one.
I can save it because it might be a two-parter. You never hear those words from me again.
Yeah.
But we'll save it for after St. Patty's, and then I'll find a very haunted woman in white.
I think I just want to stay really unhinged until St. Patty's, because we've been really locked down the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for like something. You might not get a crime out of me.
I need a good woman in white walking
you
the
do.
waters.
You need an iconic,
walking the top of the waters.
An iconic woman lore ghost situation.
Or hear me out, hybrid mother.
Okay, that's another sick one.
Okay.
We'll find something. For me, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to cover a crime for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Period. Why should you?
Who knows?
We're creeps and creeps.
Yeah. Next 2 weeks, creeps and creeps. Don't ask any. Actually, 128 we're creeps and creeps. 129 we're creeps and crimes.
And we're canceled.
And immediately all the Irish people are done.
If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get
creepy. Okay, so we have we're closing the book on BTK.
Wrapping her up and putting her in the closet.
God, I'm so done. I'm literally so done. So this is part 3 / the final part of BTK or Dennis Lynn Rader. If you have not listened to part 1, which is episode 125, or part 2, episode 126, just turn back now. Just turn
You're
right now.
going to be lost.
You're going to be really lost, and you're just going to be like, why are they so over it? You'll understand. I'm going to give you my trigger warning, and I know you're really tired of hearing this, but just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, this is going to be a deep and detailed, likely distressing case to listen to. There is murder, bondage, sexual disorders, sexual assault, crimes involving children, paraphilia, torture, lots of talk surrounding the details, crimes involving animals, and so much more. We are also going to be discussing which is all this one is about, by the way, the forensic psychology behind a lot of these things in detail, along with other sensitive or disturbing topics. I'm going to take you into the brain of one of the most fucked up serial killers of all time. So please prepare yourself and listen when you are mentally ready to. Lastly, before we get into this, I want to give a disclaimer. We are in no way, shape, or form using this reporting style to defend or justify anything that BTK has done by any means. I am not trying to communicate, share, or sway you into feeling any sort of empathy for this man, because we do not at all. None. Zero. All I wanted to do with this was just show you the insides of a dark and twisted mind that is capable of doing such horrific things in an attempt to educate you and myself. With that being said, let's go into the diagnosis of Dennis Lynn Rader, or BTK. Following Dennis Rader's guilty pleas, he was interviewed by psychologist Dr. Robert Mendoza, who diagnosed him with narcissistic, antisocial, and obsessive-compulsive personality disorders, highlighting his excessive need for attention, lack of empathy for his victims, and his preoccupation with rigid structure and order, as well as a grandiose sense of self, aka he believes that he is special and entitled to special treatment. Now, before we go into a full breakdown of case studies by different people and explain diagnosis, etc., I do want to do a little bit of a walkthrough of important components of Dennis Lynn Rader's life, which is best summed up by criminal psychologist Dr. Catherine Hughes from the YouTube channel Crime Psych. And I'm going to be I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try to figure out a way. I think I'm going to try to link a PDF that has all of my sources for this, because this one is like a million more. Of course, I have Dr. Ramsland's book, Confessions of a Serial Killer, as really like the main base of this. I also have Inside the Mind of BTK by Johnny Douglas. So there's lots, but I'm kind of giving like shout outs where I can in the midst, but there is going to be somehow I'm going to link something somewhere to give you all my sources. And if it's not there and you want more. So a childhood breakdown. He was the oldest of 4 sons, quiet, but always there, willing to join in. He wasn't into sports. He preferred hunting and fishing over anything other than that. Others say that he was not neglected as a child. However, he claims, which we know this from part 1 and part 2, that his parents, who both worked many hours to be able to provide for their family, specifically his mother, though, were distant with him. And he grew up on a farm with his grandparents, both sides. He watched his grandparents kill chickens for food because it was a farm, which excited him at a really young age. So at that age, he begins to experiment with taking lives away from animals. In his mid-teens, he begins to undergo these changes that set him apart from his peers. Sexual fantasies, which we learned a lot about how he experienced the Clutter family murder. It was around the same time that he acknowledges for the first time what his future is going to be, which is violent. Like, he had this dark side of him, and he became aware of it and began to embrace it. Further explores killing animals for fun, like hanging cats, rabbits, turtles, peeping through windows of women in his neighborhood, his girlfriends, even his teachers. He starts to break and enter to steal underwear or lingerie or just like undergarments from women that he had been peeping in on, all the while coming across as this normal person to everyone around him and fitting in relatively well. After high school, he begins to come out of his shell a little bit more. He's no longer the wallflower who kind of jumps in. He is the center of attention. And this really kind of starts with his car that he bought. It made him feel special. It made him feel confident. It was a standout car. And he begins to feel more comfortable with friends and females. So we know that like he tried to go to school, it didn't really work out. So instead he joins the U.S. Air Force. He gets out of service. He goes back to college. He works several jobs. He gets married to Paula. They have 2 children, Carrie and Brian. He is a Cub Scout leader for his son. He is a church president, and he's living this normal suburban life. And no one in his life would have ever thought that he would be capable of being BTK.
How fucking terrifying.
Terrifying.
That he lived a double life.
Literally a complete double life that never bled through, not once. I mean, that is
fucking scary.
That's like mind-blowing
that
to
people
think
can
of.
do that.
Right. So what is so interesting, that's so funny you said that. What is so interesting about Dennis Rader is that no one in his life knew who he truly was and what he was doing with his time. For the most part, we all believe that it would be relatively easy to spot characteristics of a serial killer or a psychopath. But this proves that that is not the case at all. And it's actually relatively common that you wouldn't be able to call out these characteristics in a person. An example that Dr. Catherine Hughes uses, how we are in our own lives. So we all have these different roles that we play in different circumstances. As in, if you looked at your manager at work, you look at them as this competent authority figure. But what you don't see is who they are at home or in their personal life, because each of us all have different stories and different phases of our lives. So your manager is a manager to you at work, but he could be a tennis player, a golfer, an abuser, a loving spouse, someone who lost a loved one that was very close to them, and maybe they're having to raise that loved one's children. Like, there could be a million different things that you don't know about that person's life.
So fucking true.
Right. And similar to this, Dennis Rader had an intense and complex way of compartmentalizing his life, which is really what all of these different pieces of us are. A really good example of this is, you know, when we're doing certain things, we don't consider our other roles. I'm going to break this down a little bit more using me as an example. So if I'm with my family at a family gathering, I'm not thinking of myself as a podcaster in that moment who researches crime cases and criminals. Instead, in that moment, I am simply just a daughter, a friend, a sister, a granddaughter, a wife, etc. Or when I'm researching a case like this and I'm scripting it and we're recording, we're preparing for it, in that moment, I am not a daughter, a wife, a sister. I'm not all of those things. That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the fact that I'm a researcher and I'm a podcaster in that moment. In the case of Dennis Rader, when he was in his good side, being a father, a church president, a husband, a son, etc., he was not the dark side or BTK. He was just Dennis. Or when he was committing these horrific crimes as the dark side or BTK, he was not in that moment at all thinking about being a father or a husband, Dennis. A son, right? He was not Dennis in those moments.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And you may totally cover this in a second, but him calling it the good side, the dark side, is that something he did later on?
That's something like he's done a long time.
So he's like called it to himself during all of this, like, here's my dark side.
Right.
Like, he's been well aware.
Right.
Like, because outsidely aware, I guess.
He thought of it as like cubing. And he was like, I have to go do this for the good side because I've got to do this.
Okay. So those terms have been stuck with him since he
was young.
Okay.
Whenever he first identified cubing and factor X, which we're going to get to. So being a diagnosed narcissistic psychopath, he did not see, this is so fucked, just prepare yourself. He did not see or have the capability of seeing his victims as having any rights or any backstories. Like how we look at our manager, yes, they're our manager in that moment, but we know that there's more to that person.
Right.
He did not see it that way. Instead, they were just simply an accessory to his pleasure.
Wow.
Now, what I'm about to say is like really, really rough. This entire piece is, but who his victims were in that moment, in his eyes, that's all that they ever were and all that they would ever be. And victims, but not even that.
Pleasures.
Yeah, projects. And he even had this same feeling towards his family. Now, this is what's really, really hard. And I truly like apologize for even saying this, but it's the best way to sum up his life and his mind and put it in perspective for you what being a psychopath is. And Dr. Hughes said this, it's a quote, and it says, he got married and had children because it created a cover or made him seem normal to those around him. They were his cover story. Yeah.
Wow.
because he is a psychopath. And people like this have the ability to appear normal by mimicking others, making themselves seem more acceptable or normal within society, which allows them to hide in plain sight, even from the people that they're closest to. All of this is to explain why, when his cover was blown and he was officially caught by police, he had no problem telling officers and the court every single detail of every single one of the crimes that he had committed and his entire life story, with no emotion, with no empathy, with no problem. He no longer had the cover, and he never saw his victims as anything other than objects that helped him to achieve his pleasure, and his family was nothing more than a cover for the good side.
Wow.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this guy.
I mean, so fucked. All the while, though, as he's living this double life and playing these cards the way that he is enjoying following the cases of other serial killers. He was studying them. He loved to call them out, where they had fucked up or where they had gone wrong. And in part 2, episode 126, we walked through the profile, I think it was part 2, where we walked through the profile that was created for BTK by the Wichita police and the FBI investigators that were aiding on the case. In this, they mentioned that he would be overly critical of police investigations on his crimes, which he was, but he was also overly critical of other serial killers because he's a psychopath who truly believed that he was the best serial killer of all time. And he was proud of his work. And in his mind, he was finally being noticed and getting the recognition for something he was proud of, which made him happy and excited. Exactly why he freaked out when those 3 guys claimed the Otero's murders, which is why he began to claim his crimes in the media and with police. Dr. Hughes noted, when he was in court, he said, quote, "If you know anything about serial killers, you know that we have phases. You control a person for years, but once you lock onto someone, it turns into stalking," end quote. This was his way of communicating to the court and just everyone that he was patting himself on the back. Yeah. Like, I did my research. Well, I planned it in depth. Like, this was not like, I have control over my urges because I can do this. I can plan it. And it was something he was prideful about. And why he was so disappointed anytime anything went wrong, which led him to having to act on impulse. Mm-hmm. So to explain this deeper, we're going to have to dig into his mental processes. And the best way to do this is by walking you through some of the published case study that was conducted by Matthew S. Huntington from SMU. And this will be in my source notes as well. Many experts consider Dennis Lynn Rader to be a quintessential psychopath, which is comprised of 4 main points. Number 1, lack of remorse. Number 2, shallow affect. Number 3, callousness or lack of empathy. Number 4, failure to accept responsibility. All of which he checks every single box for, including the interpersonal features of a psychopath. Number 1, pathological lying. Number 2, manipulativeness. Number 3, a grandiose sense of self-worth. And number 4, a superficial charm. And in no way, shape, or form did he use the same type of charm that was used by Ted Bundy. Instead, Dennis Lynn Rader channeled this charm through seeming to be an upstanding, dependable person within his community, someone that you could trust and you could go to. Whereas Ted Bundy used it as like, oh, I'm hot.
He's honestly so intelligent.
Right. But like, I don't even know if he was like aware that this is what he was doing. You know, like, I think that's what it is to be a psychopath.
Yeah.
Is to just be doing that. I don't know.
I don't fucking know either. Or like, do you reach a certain level of intelligence that forces you into this dark void of a life? Right.
To where I don't even know. I can't even, and we'll have a better understanding of it here in a little bit, I guess, and we'll be able to have more conversation about it, because like, I don't even think I've even digested half of the information that I've put on this, because it's just, I've like had to keep myself at arm's length this entire time. Right. Other experts actually believe that he was likely a goal-oriented psychopath instead of just like the quintessential psychopath. But in different yet relatively important ways, he could also be considered an unconventional psychopath, mainly because of mixed evidence regarding his lifestyle. So there are 4 main lifestyle features that make up a psychopath. And I'm going to first start off with the main 3, and we're going to get to the 4th here in a second. Number 1, a need for stimulation and a proneness to boredom. Number 2, a lack of long-term goals. Number 3, irresponsibility. Though we can see a need for stimulation and proneness to boredom with Dennis Rader, he never could be someone that I would consider to be lacking goals or irresponsible. An example of this mainly has to do with his pattern of crimes. They were all well planned, they were all methodical, and he was very patient, which is why he could take such long breaks in between them. He was using that time to perfect his crimes and his plans. Next, although he had many jobs, he remained steady in his will to work and want to be employed, all the while continuing his involvement with his community and his family. And all of these factors point towards the possibility that he could be considered a goal-oriented psychopath because he occupied his time well and could maintain relationships and commitments, all the while still providing for his family not only financially, but also with his time and presence in the home. The 4th lifestyle feature of a psychopath, which I left out in the beginning, is impulsivity. Specifically, this is made up of 4 distinct angles or details or whatever. Number 1, urgency. Number 2, lack of premeditation. Number 3, lack of perseverance. Number 4, sensation seeking. Dennis Rader's crimes lacked the aspect of the first 3 details. Like, we can't say that he had like this sense of urgency. He lacked being premeditated. He was like, didn't persevere through anything. He did all of those things. He didn't have all of those things. But he absolutely, in his crimes, was sensation seeking. I don't know if that made any sense, if you know what I mean, but basically I'm saying the first 3 don't apply to him, but the last one absolutely does. Sorry, I don't know where I went with that. So all of his crimes were based on his intense fantasies, from which he got pleasure from reenacting them, not only on himself or his victims, but like even thinking about his crimes. Now, going back to his need for rigid structure combined with this seeking of a sensation, there is this sense of risk-taking, which is typical in any psychopathic mind or lifestyle. But in order for him to be able to take that risk, which is where you go out on a limb and you do the thing that your impulsive thoughts are wanting you to do or your deep thoughts are wanting you to do, because he was so rigid and obsessive, he had to have considered the outcomes and consequences, which he combated with his intense planning and premeditation. In his communications...
So then is he really impulsive?
So no.
Okay.
That's basically like, he isn't impulsive, but he is at the same time, because of the factor of the sensation seeking.
Right.
So that's why...
Which are his sexual pleasures or the murders?
His fantasies that he has to perform.
Okay.
Which is what makes them impulsive, like when you act on them. So that's why I think they say like he can't be considered the quintessential psychopath, because really there are different layers because he was able to maintain this complete double life and take such long breaks between his crimes, which never happens, especially in people that are...
Right, because impulsivity takes over. That want, that drive, that hunger for it takes over.
And it was more...
But he can contain it.
He can contain it. And he learned to contain it by compartmentalizing. He would go and he would have motel parties. He would put on the mask. He would take pictures of himself. He would journal. But he didn't have to kill.
Jeez.
So in his communications and interviews with various individuals, Dennis Rader maintains his stance that he was a natural-born predator who is driven to kill by an urge that he cannot understand or defeat, which he defines as factor X. However, he also notes that there are few incidences, and none of these have ever been officially confirmed via medical records or like even accounts from family members where he was dropped on his head as a child. If that was the case, then that may explain his psychopathic tendencies. and where this factor X originated from. But he kind of like
did he use it as like the saying, like, oh, I guess I was dropped on my head as a child? Or was he like, no, I was literally dropped like when I was a kid?
Like, apparently, like, his family talked about it. Not like his brothers, but I think like his mom and his dad. But it's kind of like he's going back on what he's saying, because then that wouldn't make you a natural born serial killer predator.
Right. That's saying that that's more of a, I guess, not nurture, but
right.
That's hard, because
it's like you become when you
because of
a
an
maid,
incident.
right?
Yeah.
A maid serial killer. But one thing that we do know for sure is what type of serial killer that professionals categorize Dennis Rader or BTK as. And before I tell you exactly what he is, I want to take you through the 4 main types that have subcategories of their own. So the 4 main types of a serial killer are 1, visionaries, 2, mission-oriented, 3, hedonistic, I think is how you say it. Hedonistic. Hedonistic.
Like narcissistic.
I want to think it's hedonistic.
Maybe.
And number 4, power control. So let's walk through each of these. Number 1, visionary. Someone who kills because and guys, this might be like kind of triggering because I'm literally reading the basic definition and giving examples, and they're very
more
graphic. Yeah, they're not great. So a visionary is someone who kills because they believe that a person or an entity is commanding them to do so. They most likely are disorganized killers and suffer from some form of psychosis, causing them to lose touch with reality, which leads to hallucinations or hearing voices that are not real, while holding on to these delusional and extremist beliefs that they have. They typically choose their targets at random, they lack planning of their crimes, and they put in little to no effort to cover up their crimes. Though that seems it would be easy to catch them because of this, instead, because they don't have any, because they're disorganized, they change their MOs. They kill different every time that they kill. So it's hard to connect and link to past crimes and current crimes and track them down, especially back in the day when we didn't have DNA that could connect people. Right. It was only based off of MO. So examples of visionary serial killers would be Herbert Mullen or the Son of Sam. So number 2, we have mission-oriented serial killers. Someone who kills in order to, quote, rid society of a specific group of people, and their mission is to kill as many of this group of people as possible. They are not considered to be psychotic or out of touch with reality, meaning they do not experience hallucinations like visionaries, and they don't have this like command from God or other entity to commit their crimes. It is simply just all based off of a delusion that was made by themselves. They are typically organized killers that plan out their crimes, but they kill quickly and efficiently while avoiding close contact with their victims at all costs, making them more likely to use a gun or a bomb over a knife or their own hands. They are obsessive and driven by either hatred or revenge, and typically they stick to their local areas, and by that I mean like East Coast, West Coast, their state. They don't really take it outside of that because it's only based off of who directly affects them. But they typically will not stop their killing sprees until they have been killed themselves or they are caught. So some examples of mission-oriented serial killers or mass murderers would be the Atlanta bombings, number 1. Number 2, Joseph Paul Franklin. And some people also consider that this could be the Son of Sam in some aspects.
And number 4, the smiley face killer.
Yeah, number 4. 100%.
At large.
Then we have number 3, power control killers. This is actually the most common type of serial killer, someone who seeks to gain power and control over their victims. They seek to dominate their victims to gain a sense of empowerment for themselves. They are typically men that have feelings of inadequacy or are afraid of, and by afraid I mean like petrified of rejection, many of which who were abused or neglected as children. These types of killers are often meticulous, patient, and calm. Most often, they are very organized. So some power control serial killers are referred to as organized serial killers. Because they're extremely organized in every single one of their crimes. They may sexually assault their victims. However, it is not done for their own sexual pleasure, but instead as a tool to gain power or control over their victims, which gives them a high. After the murders, they will typically assert their dominance by keeping souvenirs that remind them of their victims, returning to the body, engaging in necrophilia, or mutilating the remains. If they took a piece of jewelry from their victim, they may give it to their partner, saying that they bought it for them, like, I bought this for you with so much money. It popped out at me. This is another form of a high they get because they're manipulating their partner into wearing this and then being able to relive the crime by seeing their partner wear it.
And over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Examples of this include John Wayne Gacy, Gary Ridgway, who was the Green River Killer, and even some consider Ted Bundy to be a power control. And I think so as well.
I do too.
Finally, we have the hedonistic,
You're saying it right. It sounds right.
Hedonistic, right? I think it sounds right too. Which is a serial killer that kills for pleasure or reward, money, sex, fun, etc. They are broken down into 3 subcategories. Number 1, comfort or profit killers. Number 2, thrill killers. And number 3, lust killers. A comfort or profit killer is someone who kills for money or material gain, like killing a spouse for insurance money or killing a sibling to get more inheritance money. They are typically known for using poison to commit their crimes because there's no need for them to have close contact between themselves and their victims. Unlike thrill and lust killers, they do not typically torture or mutilate their victims before or after death. They simply kill to gain something or put an end to something, which is also different from thrill or lust killers as well as power control killers, because comfort killers do not gain any pleasure from the kill itself, but instead they gain the pleasure from the reward that they get after they have killed. And interestingly enough, most female serial killers tend to fall under the comfort killer category.
Wow.
Making her main motive being to kill for money, love, or wealth, as women are unlikely to kill for sexual gratification or power. Comfort killers typically wait a really long time between their murders because it is not an impulse to them, unlike thrill or lust killers. So comfort killers can be considered organized killers, just like power control killers.
Would you consider comfort killers to be like on a need basis?
On a need, 100%.
Like if there is a war, like it could go, 15 years.
Yeah.
But until there's a reward for something.
Yeah,
they do it.
Like an example is H.H. Holmes. Then we have thrill killers. And these are people that get a literal thrill from just simply murdering another. Hunting, stalking, scaring, and seeing the fear in their victim's eyes. That is the thrill, which gives them a high that they find extremely exciting and addictive. Someone who will just kill to see how it feels. Like if they had an urge to, they'll do it to figure out what the hype is. And they are typically seen as normal, confident members of society on the outside. However, on the inside, internally, they struggle with feelings of inadequacy or powerlessness. AKA
ding, ding, ding.
Kind of bringing in that power control in here too. But their crimes give them power, which is a version of this high that they chase because they need to experience their victims' suffering. They are commonly sadist, S-A-D-I-S-T, sadistic killers, which means that they want like a game of cat and mouse. So they might let the victim think they got away and then catch them, or talk with them to calm them down and then begin talking to them to scare them again. It's very much like a roller coaster. And they enjoy the hunt, but they lose interest with their victims after death, although they will use sexually motivated torture tactics such as rape or assault. That is not their main motivator. It's mainly just the ability to scare another person. So wow. Mainly, rape or sexually motivated torture is just a tool in their crimes, unlike lust killers. So some examples of thrill killers would be the Zodiac Killer and Israel Keyes.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to go through and like make sure it was ones I've covered so we could all have like, something.
This entire time I was like, where does the Zodiac fall? And
the Zodiac actually falls into more than one, just like Ted Bundy and Dennis Rader, because the Zodiac Killer was a power control and very organized, very well thought out, wanted articulate. Really, there was no motive, which is why they're considered a power control and a thrill killer.
Right.
I don't know. And the hunt, I guess.
Yeah,
to
but
drag it on out.
They are, whoever it is a lot like Dennis Rader because of the impulsivity. Like they are able to control that. And granted, we don't know how.
Right.
But like the Zodiac Killer, I think, is next to Dennis Rader on impulsivity control.
Right. So they're very similar. They're actually all the like psychological breakdowns that I read always compared Dennis Rader and the Zodiac. But that makes sense because he took a lot of. He claims he didn't like copy the Zodiac, but like you did.
Yeah, he did.
You did. And you know who I was trying to think of where they would fit in is Richard Ramirez. I guess he would be just a thrill killer. Power
Night
control.
Stalker?
Yeah, Night Stalker.
Power control thrill. Yeah,
I think so. A lust killer, which is our next category, will rape, mutilate, and kill for their own sexual gratification. They fantasize about their crimes years before they commit them because of their violent fantasies. They begin to expand over time and dominate their thoughts, talking about the dark fantasies, where it becomes a deep-seated psychological need to kill or act out. In most cases, the time between each of their kills, it will become shorter and shorter because they chase this high, which leads them to struggle with their own impulses. But unlike mission killers, a lust killer requires close contact. They want to use their hands or a knife. They want it to be hands-on. Very rarely, if ever, will they use a gun. Lust killers like trophies from their victims in order to relive a piece of the crime and remember it, like a power control. Most of them will return to the crime scene, mutilate bodies, or engage in necrophilia. But not all lust murders have to involve sexual intercourse, meaning the crime itself is the sexual gratification that the killer is wanting. Examples of this: Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Dennis Lynn Rader. But Dennis Lynn Rader is actually considered to be an organized, power control, hedonistic lust killer and thrill. He also had like aspects of thrill. But in my opinion, I feel like thrill and power control are kind of similar in a way, other than like power control seems to have a lot more, like hedonistic killers seem to have a lot less impulsive control, whereas power control do have a lot of control.
Yeah, he's got my mind fucked right now.
Yeah, I'm mind fucked. And like walking, I know this, but like I've never like walked through it all in one moment to be like, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So like Dennis Lynn Rader, many hedonistic or power control serial killers have military backgrounds, such as Gary Ridgway, Israel Keyes, and Jeffrey Dahmer. On BuzzFeed Unsolved, Dr. Eric Hickey, who is a criminal psychologist, discussed this topic further. Dr. Hickey serves the U.S. military by consulting with them, training CID, criminal investigators, and victim specialists. He notes that in his research, it shows that the military draws in mainly males, not always, but mainly males, with the want or interest to murder. Not everyone that joins the military has an interest in murder, but the people that we're discussing, yes, they do. Some other serial killers and mass murderers that have served in the military include the Freeway Killer, the Son of Sam, Dean Corll, Timothy McVeigh, Arthur Shawcross, and many, many more. Many of them do this for a sense of belonging, pride, and the ability to simply wear a uniform, which is a common theme in Dennis Lynn Rader's life. So,
yeah. Oh, shit.
Right. Dr. Hickey, and I didn't put this in my notes, I don't know why I didn't do this, was talking about how the military has been doing like a lot of research in order to be able to identify serial killers before they leave or enter the military. Wow. It's like, they're like, it's really common. There was like a percentage, I don't know what it was. I don't want to say like 70%. I want to say like, maybe
19.
Yeah, something like that percent of serial killers have served in the U.S. military.
Probably more than 19.
Like probably like 41 or something. I don't know exactly what it was. All of this points towards his narcissistic and antisocial personality disorders, the need to like belong and wear something that gives you power. And he had this urge to belong and to be accepted, which was kind of where his good side came in. That's where he felt his sense of belonging in the church, as a husband, as a father. He had roles that kind of filled in the gaps for him. All the while, he needed to be special and stand out because he believed he was better and more skilled than anyone else around him at all times, which is the dark side. Basically, all in all, he killed for pleasure. He had zero empathy.
What was the first breakdown that you did? Not types of serial killer, types of psychopaths?
Psychopaths.
He's a little piece of each one of those, and he's a little piece of every single serial killer. Like, it's like puzzle pieces were all put together from every fucking section that you talked about to make Dennis Rader.
Right. And the only thing that really makes him like stand out from being just like the quintessential psychopath is his lifestyle, which is what pulls him away from most pieces of everything.
Yeah.
The fact that he could exist in real life with normal people around him, no one knowing, that's like what makes him stand out so far. Yeah. And I guess like similar to the Zodiac killer, like no one in whoever the fuck the Zodiac killer is.
Right.
Seriously.
Not the guy they said it was.
No, it's not. It's not you, Marty Bass, either.
Well,
anyways, he had zero empathy. He was absolutely a psychopath, no matter how you want to put it. Was he born this way, or did he become this way as a result of feeling neglected, being dropped on his head, experiences that he has as a child? We will probably never know. But Dennis Rader demonstrates that psychopaths are not easy to identify, which is why it is estimated that 2 to 3 people per 100 may be psychopaths. And this is like according to a study done by Dr. R.D. Hare.
Wow. And he really puts into perspective the argument of nature versus nurture for psychopaths. Truly. For serial killers.
Yeah.
In general. Because like you said, he kind of backtracks when he's like, I just dropped on my head and not all of his family saying it. But like, he is truly a nature-made serial killer to me.
Nature instead of nurture.
Yeah.
I don't know. I truly don't.
It wasn't his lifestyle.
I don't think it could be his lifestyle because, I mean, his 3 brothers are like, you know, and now they're probably mind fucked because their brother's a damn serial killer. But like, you know, there's not been really any other reports about anything else going on in the family. And I'm sure it would be there if it was.
Sure.
Like, only thing I've ever seen about his siblings was his youngest brother, I think, ? Maybe his second youngest brother was kind of the troublemaker, like always acting out in school, but like I feel like that's just like a younger sibling, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's always got to be one, and he wasn't that one. So that's another thing that's really odd. Like there's 2 parts that I've left out because in my opinion, there's not enough evidence backing these up to like really like go into depth about. So like take these with a grain of salt. I just want to mention these to you guys for, I don't know, I guess food for thought. There was this one instance that he recalled. First, let's talk about his mom, because a lot of this like centers around his mother and feeling neglected by his mother, or feeling like she could be everything in the world. She could be a good friend, she could be a good employee, but she couldn't be a good mom. Like that was a quote that we read from him.
Yeah.
Dr. Hickey on the BuzzFeed Unsolved kind of addressed his relationship with his mother, and so did Dr. Catherine Hughes from Crime Psych. Now, Dr. Catherine Hughes talked about basically perspective is reality. So if a child is experiencing something that they can't express or process in a home, no matter what it is, even if it can't be seen on the outside of the home, they combat this in different ways. Sometimes it's by killing animals, acting out in school, wetting the bed. And he showed many of these things. But then Dr. Hickey discussed his mother and what the role that she played in it. And there's 2 main places in Dennis Rader's life that he is quoted on multiple occasions talking about times he felt humiliated by his mother, which is why he was really scared when he got in that car accident to go home. But he wanted to go home instead of the hospital because he was afraid he was going to get humiliated in public versus being humiliated in his home. So one of the times that his mother humiliated him was when he was young. It was one of the first times that he had snuck into her room and got her slipped. He, I guess, had an orgasm, and it had gotten on his boxers. And his mother saw it when she was doing the laundry and brought it to him and said, "Are you masturbating?" And of course, he's like not going to answer her. I guess he was like 11 or 12. She said, those who masturbate, God does not let into heaven, or something, using like religious fear as a tactic in order to keep him pure, I guess. I don't know. And Dr. Hickey broke this down and was like, well, let's look at it from a Freudian concept in terms of he was humiliated by his mother in that moment, but that's humiliating for a mother to have a conversation with her son about.
Right.
Most of the time, mothers would take that to the husband or the father figure in that person's life and say, hey, do you want to have a conversation with them about it? Or because they're so young, like it just happened. Like it's puberty. It's a natural occurring thing for people going through puberty to experience.
Right.
And Dr. Hickey was like, that had to be fueled by something within her. And it could, which I don't agree with this, and so take this with a grain of salt.
Through.
He said that she might have had like Freudian feelings about her son.
Oh.
And that's why she always kept him at arm's length. But in my opinion, if you can't psychoanalyze someone, then you shouldn't be saying shit like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about that, but I thought that was a really interesting take on it by a criminal psychologist.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Right. And then it was also around this same exact age that he was in class and something happened, like he failed something or he spelled something wrong or his teacher forced him to read out loud in class and he was embarrassed because he couldn't read well, he couldn't write well. And his teacher humiliated him and it like pissed him off. And like he was a really good kid in normal life. So he didn't really act out in class, but instead he started peeping on her. And he stalked her for years. Like he wanted to make her a victim eventually. Yeah.
Like he held that grudge.
Yeah. And that's like another thing that fueled him to wanting to see a woman in bondage, seeing a woman helpless, powerless. Because to him, like women kind of held the power in his life because he so took to heart what his mother thought about him and other females in his life. And then lastly, this one just blew my fucking mind. And a lot of people claim that it's not true, including his daughter. I do want to mention it because it is in a few of his writings. But again, he's a compulsive liar, so psychopath. So like, I don't know.
Right. What do we believe?
What are we going to believe? Either way, whenever that first, I think it was Shirley's poem or one of the earlier notes that he had sent in and it had been published in the newspaper, he had killed that night, came home that morning, was having breakfast and reading the newspaper with his wife, Paula, while the kids were eating. And that paper, the note that he had sent was in the newspaper. And he spelled something wrong as BTK. And when Paula saw it, she goes, oh my God, that's so weird. He spells it just like you. I wonder if he went to school with you.
Shut up.
And he was like, what? Let me see. And he was like, God, that's so weird. And she like dropped it and like didn't talk anymore about it. But he said that in that moment, he thought if she was going to continue that he was going to kill his wife, which then again reinforces the fact that he has no empathy, no feelings.
Right.
He does not have the ability to care or feel any sort of emotion towards another human. And they were a cover, which is so fucked. And I like couldn't imagine being his children. And like I said, like if I heard that being said about my father, like no matter who my father was, like your father literally played this role in front of you. And to you, he was an amazing man.
Right.
And that's why like reading Carrie's perspective of it in her book and listening to her talk about it on 2020 was so eye-opening. But
oh, I've got to watch her.
You've got to watch.
Wow,
Because it's
Taylar.
mind-blowing. Yeah. I'm really happy.
You need to pop a bottle of champagne.
Thank God VTK is done, babe.
I mean, that was so fucking interesting.
Yeah.
What about, I wanted to ask, but I couldn't remember their names. The Canadian couple.
Barbie and Ken killers?
Yeah.
Ken and Barbie killers?
What would you classify them?
Oh, God. Well, Carla, so it's Paul Bernardo, and Carla Holmes. Paul was a lust killer, 100% impulsivity. And I think that would make Carla a comfort killer because she's doing it.
the reward for Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she was just like such a tag along for,
right,
but also not really.
So both they were
hedonistic. I didn't know where
she
was. Yeah,
and but I think he also does have like the same. He wasn't organized, but the power control situation. But still, like that's the same with thrill. That's the same with hedonistic as a whole, like being able to control something, even though it's not considered a power control, because being organized and disorganized.
Yeah. Wow.
Really interesting.
You're really fucking good.
Honestly, I think I'm a psychologist.
Honestly, I think you should be.
I think I should be too. That's all. You know, that's so crazy. I literally wanted to be that. Here we are. I'm doing it either way, and I didn't have to pay for school to do it.
Period.
Poo.
Just
Dr.
paid for
Taylar.
school for no reason. That's what we did.
That's exactly what we did. For what? For why? Literally.
Alrighty. Today I have...
Okay, so update,
guys. I am actually crashing really hard right now.
We had to give her 2 Benadryl. I don't know if we said that in the intro.
And I'm like actually falling asleep on mic. So,
and I'm afraid if we wait any longer, she's not gonna be able to get home. Not that like we couldn't take her clearly.
I
but
couldn't even read the first sentence.
No.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you've seen me fall out of the chair.
Just shut up if you were watching on YouTube.
Because I'm falling asleep right
And
here.
I knew Morgan was going down bad. That's why I was talking like I was kind of trying to take up some more space just in case you wouldn't be able to make it through. Because I know this is like your shit, like talking about the psychology.
And you did so good. And I was fighting for my life, trying to just like.
I know you were.
I was like pinpointing, like picking up conversations, like. See, I can't even talk.
Oh my God.
Picking up sentences that she was saying, and then I'd sit here and dwell on it, and then I'd be like, she's gonna find me. I'd think to myself that she was gonna find me on the ground, and she'd be like, Morgan, wake up. Morgan, wake up. Like I was, okay, I'm fucking drunk or something.
No, you took 2 Benadryl.
Anyway, so
2 Benadryl lay me out. Like I don't even know how you're still breathing right now.
So I have to come over tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to get this recorded tomorrow.
And if not,
we'll do something else small.
We'll pick up in 1:30.
It's just
let
we're
her do
fucking
something
ourselves
small
because we have I'm going out of town this weekend for my brother's wedding.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like even if you don't, like I mean, I've literally talked for 1 hour and 5 minutes. So if it comes down to it and you can't, and we don't have the time to do it, I'd rather not rush it and you be able to enjoy your brother's wedding and this meeting that we have that's extremely important tomorrow. So, I mean, we can just cap this at BTK if you can't handle it tomorrow, and if not, then you get to. I mean, and if that happens, you get to hear her case on 1:30. Yeah. And then if not, then we'll figure out something to do tomorrow. And you won't ever hear this. You will never hear this.
You won't ever hear this.
But if you're hearing this, then Morgan did not survive.
If you're hearing this, I'm dead.
She's not dead. Okay, love you guys. Love you, bye.